We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tahawwur Rana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. National Investigation Agency gets 18-day remand of 2611 mastermind Tahawwur Rana to interrogate him in order to unravel the complete conspiracy behind the deadly attacks. President Draupadi Murmu addresses Indian diaspora in Slovakia, highlights growing cultural ties, conferred with honorary doctorate in Slovakia. Technical consultations between the US and Ukraine on a mineral deal to begin in Washington. Talks aimed at aligning both nations on long-term investment mechanisms, reflecting shared strategic interest. And US talks further down as trade war with China deepens. Tariffs imposed on Chinese goods stand at 145%. Trump acknowledges transition problems with tariff plans. Well, the 9th edition of the Global Technology Summit will begin in New Delhi in a short while from now. External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, will address the inaugural session of the summit. Global Technology Summit is India's flagship dialogue on geotechnology, co-hosted by Carnegie India and Ministry of External Affairs, with leaders from government, industry, academia and civil society taking part. The summit aims to shape a global technology policy conversations with a focus on innovation, resilience and international cooperation. Well, the summit will explore how emerging technologies can drive inclusive growth, strengthen digital governance and deepen cross-border partnerships. The theme for this year's summit is Sambhavna, Meeting Possibilities. GTS 2025 will feature over 40 public sessions, including keynote addresses, ministerial conversations, expert panels and strategic conversations. Well, more than 150 speakers from over 40 countries will join discussions on the most pressing tech challenges and opportunities facing the world today. This year, GTS 2025 will also amplify the voices of the next generation. Through the GTS Young Ambassadors program, students and young professionals from across India will contribute directly to policy conversations on digital future, responsible AI and global tech norms. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri will address the summit on Saturday. German Ambassador to India and Bhutan, Philip Ackerman, and Australia's High Commissioner to India, Philip Green, are among the key speakers at the summit. And a Delhi court on Friday sent Tahawwur Rana to 18-day National Investigation Agency custody hours after he was extradited from the US. Rana played a key role in plotting the 2008 terror attack on Mumbai that claimed 166 lives, was arrested by NIA on Thursday after his arrival from US on a special flight. He was produced before Special NIA Judge Chandrajit Singh, who held an in-camera hearing on NIA counsel and Special Public Prosecutor Narendra Man's plea for a 20-day remand. Well, in a statement, NIA stated that the extradition finally came through after Rana's various litigations and appeals were rejected in the US courts, and the investigators, the challenge will be to get Rana to reveal more than what he had already told the US authorities. And the US State Department on Thursday reiterated its commitment to combating global terrorism in collaboration with India after the US extradited Tahawwur Rana. During a press briefing, the US State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce stated that the US had consistently supported India's efforts to hold those responsible for the attacks accountable.
9th, the United States extradited Tahawwur Rana to India to face justice for his role in planning the horrific 2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks. Some people watching may not remember these, but I encourage you to look them up and to find out exactly how horrible this was and the importance of this situation today. These attacks resulted in the tragic loss of 166 lives, including 6 Americans. that shocked the entire world. The United States has long supported India's efforts to ensure those responsible for these attacks are brought to justice. And as President Trump has said, the United States and India will continue to work together to combat the global scourge of terrorism.
And President of India, Draupadi Murmu, was conferred with the doctorate honoris causa degree by the Constantine, the Philosophy University in Slovakia during a two-day state visit to the country. While addressing the Indian community, President highlighted the growing cultural ties between India and Slovakia. Her state visit to Slovakia laid emphasis on increased economic engagement between the two nations. DD India's correspondent in Bratislava, Jayanti Jha, brings us more details on this.
India and Slovakia have close cultural and historic ties, and now, as President Draupadi Murmu's visit to Slovakia highlighted, economic engagement is also on the rise.
India is a global leader in AI research and data science. By combining Slovakia's strength in engineering and precision manufacturing with India's AI capabilities, both countries can drive innovations across many sectors. Your expertise can be leveraged to introduce AI-driven automation, predictive maintenance, or optimization techniques in Slovak industry.
During the state visit, President Murmu addressed the Slovakia-India Business Forum, interacted with the members of the Indian business community in Slovakia, as well as visited the Tata Jaguar Land Rover factory in Nitra. The Tata Jaguar Land Rover factory represents a major Indian investment in Slovakia. With an investment of 1.4 billion euros, the plant boasts an annual production capacity of 150,000 vehicles.
Slovakia and JLR plant in Slovakia, it's a very important part of our corporation. As you know, JLR Nitra is producing our iconic Defender. So the future of this plant is really important.
And it's been a great pleasure meeting the president here. Well, it's a great opportunity. We don't think of that in India actually. And as my colleagues also said, we live here miles apart from our family. So it's been a great moment and a moment of joy of us that we have seen our president or we have met our president. So it feels like someone is there coming from India to meet us or to see how we are here.
President Murmu's visit brings India and Slovakia closer culturally and economically by emphasis on diversifying the trade basket, further strengthening the India-Slovakia friendship.
Two leaders also witnessed the exchange of two memoranda of understanding. One of the MOUs is between the Sushma Swaraj Foreign Service Institute of India and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Slovakia. The other one is regarding cooperation in the field of small and medium enterprises between the NSIDC and the business Slovakia.
Trade was an important component of the state visit of President Draupadi Murmu to Slovakia, with both presidents emphasizing the need for increased economic cooperation between the two nations. A forward-looking partnership seems to be on the cards for the two nations, with both of them looking to manufacture, innovate and develop together. Reporting from Bratislava with camera person Loknath, this is Jayanti Jha for DD India.
All right, and with an aim to boost infrastructure development, particularly enhancing road connectivity, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit the holy city of Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh today. During his visit, Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone and inaugurate various developmental projects worth over 3,880 crore rupees. Prime Minister will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone for several road projects in the region. Giving a boost to the electricity infrastructure, Prime Minister will inaugurate 2 transmission substations and associated transmission lines of adjoining districts of Varanasi division. Also, and now we'll take you live to the Global Technology Summit. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is addressing the summit right now.
And I may want you to reflect on the connection between the first T and the second T. But we also are gathered in a very changed landscape from what it was just a year ago. So I thought it might be useful to, as we begin the open proceedings of this 9th GTS, in a way to share with you an Indian view of the geotech landscape. How do we see the world? Why, in my view, Sambhavna, possibilities, is an appropriate theme for this year. And it is natural that when we speak about change and the T word, that we begin with the United States. Now, all that I can say, and I'm sure nobody would really disagree with this, is that the US has fundamentally changed its approach to engaging the world. And it has consequences across every domain. But the tech consequences, I believe, would be particularly profound. And it'll be profound not just because the US is the largest economy, the main driver in a way of global tech advancements, but also because it's very clear that tech has a big role in making America great again. So there is a connection between MAGA and tech, which perhaps was not so clear between 2016 and 2020. In our business, one milestone, one example of the profound changes in American policy has been Vice President Vance's speech to the Munich Security Conference. There was actually, to my mind, a very impactful speech before that as well, which perhaps didn't get the same degree of attention, which was to the AI Action Summit in Paris, which was just a few days before Munich. So the changes in the United States, which all of you are as familiar, if not more than me, I think is one big shift in the last year. But there's the other shift, and that's an evolution, you can say. It's something which appears, even if it is not, more of an unfolding rather than dramatic events, and that is the advancement of China. So that has happened in respect, of course, on trade. What we saw in many ways as the trade story has also been the tech story. And it's had its dramatic moments. DeepSeek was one. But I would argue that the changes impelled by China are as consequential as the shifts in the American position. In fact, one is to some extent influenced by the other. If one were to turn our attention to Europe, I think again here the change in the last year has been very sharp. 5 years ago, I think Europe probably had the best geopolitical situation. It had worked out the ideal triangulation between the United States, Russia, and China. Today, every side of that triangle is under stress. So from, and perhaps there's a lesson in it, sometimes very intricate hedging. From the best of all worlds, you can end up as the most difficult of all worlds. But again, I want to stress here that there are very important tech aspects to Europe's predicament, and in fact to our own interaction with Europe. And this year, just a month ago, We had 21 European commissioners visiting us. I think if you correlate the sort of intensity today of India-EU relations, there is, I think, clearly sort of factoring in both of their predicament as well as of the way India looks at possibilities which have opened up after that. A word about East Asia as well. I think in many ways, Japan particularly, South Korea to some extent, have also sought through the tech world means of a geopolitical comeback. And the salience of Taiwan, of course, doesn't need to be even mentioned. Now, in all of this, where is India? And you had an opportunity in this visit. I hope your conversations in the last 2 days have enhanced it, and the coming 2 days even more so, to acquaint yourself and to debate and discuss what is happening in our part of the world. Some of it is better known, DPI, for example. Some of it is in the making. I mean, the priority now given after many decades to semiconductors is an example. I think the space advancements are very interesting, not just for what they have achieved, but the manner in which the space industry and the space ecosystem itself is changing. I would say that to some degree for drones as well. The startup culture is deepening. The number of GCCs in this country is growing. And of course, when it comes to the AI era, I think where India is concerned, it's not just the scale of the data which would be generated, but in many ways the diversity of the data which would make it somewhat unique. So that's the way I would say geographically the landscape looks. A few words about some issues dealing with the current tech policy challenges we look at. Again, I think we are stating the obvious today when we say that tech has made trade much more national security sensitive. So we had almost an autonomous discussion about reliable and resilient supply chains, and one about trusted and transparent digital existence. And I think today the two have really fused together, and that fusion will become deeper. And it will make the traditional model of partnerships much more difficult to take forward. So the orthodox ideas that, we hedge on everybody and get the best out of everything is not going to be that easy. It's a point I made last year as well, and I think events have only shown that there's a even greater complexity on that. The other point I would make is the revival of interest, certainly, hopefully of industry as well on the nuclear side. And the connection, again, which all of you are familiar, between the AI growth and the interest in nuclear energy. Talent, the availability and flow of talent, I think in many ways will be the Achilles heel for industries in many countries. And certainly for us in the foreign policy side, that has acquired today much greater salience. Many of our discussions with international partners today revolve around, the smooth flow of talent, just as they do about making GCCs easier to function in this country. Natural resources is the other increasingly important factor. I think many choices and priorities are going to be made in terms of natural resources directly relevant to this age and time. So, I would just end with that note, that adage about data being the new oil. I think today we are grappling with who are the consumers, what will be the mode of consumption, where are the refineries for that new oil, and finally, what is going to be the trade in that particular commodity. And I'm really pleased that the organizers of GTS have chosen to take an optimistic view of this churn which is underway. This was completely their decision, but I do want to say that it reflects in many ways the mood of the country and certainly the outlook of the government. So with those words, Rudra, I think perhaps we could go in for the conversation. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for setting the context and beyond. Perhaps I could just start with the two T's. In this world of two T's, in between the T's and beyond the T's, and given the theme of the summit, what do you see as the opportunity for India? You've often argued that in times of disruption, there is opportunity. So where's the opportunity for India today?
In which T?
In either, let's start with tech. We'll come to the other one.
You know, I think there are opportunities conceptually of different kinds. One that we are actually seeing leapfrogging possibilities. I mean, if we are going to follow a path which was linear and extrapolative in a way, I think that has its own limitations with which we would have always struggled, because we would have come at it perhaps not with the required efficiency to get the benefits of it. So when you have now new pathways, some of which are still not invented, I think there are great possibilities here in terms of, you know, growth of new sectors, of really creating value, and also the other part of it is bringing our strengths to bear. Because at the end of the day, if a world is much more talent-centric and much more data-centric, I think that clearly is something which holds sambhavna for India. Now, again, it's not a given, you know, because you know, often when we get into these discussions, it's like, you know, that's a slam dunk. That's surely going to happen. Nothing in life is surely going to happen. I mean, these are options. We will have to still make, you know, have the right policies. In many ways, make up for deficiencies of the past, and try to really address it. In terms of the other T, to my view, to my mind, you know, what it has done is it has focused our own minds on the need for actually correcting what I would call a certain skewed nature of our openness to the global economy. You know, many of us have argued for a long time that our more complementary partners are actually in the West. I mean, these are areas, these are economies where real growth is possible. These are much more open, they are market economies, there's a certain contractual underpinning to everything you do. These are truly, I mean, not entirely, but much more competitive certainly than the economies to the east of us. So I would argue that, you know, we have today an opportunity to actually take the current situation, and if we can focus on these three big negotiations we have underway with the United States, with the EU and with UK, I would say we could, if these really work out for us, let us say some in this year, we would be in a very different position. And I would again make the point, all three have a very high tech content.
So just on that high tech content, and this is some of the discussions we
All right, we were watching live from the Global Technology Summit. External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, was addressing the inaugural session of the summit. He mentioned about the theme for this year's summit, which is Sambhavna, meaning possibilities. The 9th edition of the GTS is being held from April 10 to 12 and will explore how emerging technologies can drive inclusive growth, strengthen digital governance and deepen cross-border partnerships. Well, Dr. Jaishankar mentioned that there were profound changes in the US tech sector. Also regarding Europe, he said that the intensity of EU-India relations were at the new level. He also spoke about East Asia as to how technology is being stressed upon, and he said that tech has made trade national security sensitive. He also said that there was revival of industry on the nuclear side, and he also mentioned the natural resources, which was an increasingly important factor. He said he was pleased that the organizers of GTS have taken note of the churn which is on the way. And some sports stories now. In tennis, Carlos Alcaraz cruised into the Monte Carlo Masters quarterfinals for the first time on Thursday with a straight sets win over Daniel Altamare. Four-time Grand Slam champion Alcaraz brushed aside 84th-ranked German Atmayer 6-3, 6-1 to set up a last eighth clash with rising French star Arthur Fils on Friday. The 21-year-old, the reigning French Open and Wimbledon champion, is the favorite to lift the title this weekend after early exits for top seed Alexander Zverev and Novak Djokovic. Alcaraz was beaten in his first match on his only previous appearance at the tournament in 2022. And that's it in this edition of DD India. Keep watching for more.
Complex issues,